Welcome to the Galactic Tribune, another episode in our Versus Project series. Today we're going to be doing Kit Fisto versus Plo Koon. Very interesting matchup. Two fan favorite Jedi. And they nodded to that in the Clone Wars show, right? Like they had a scene like in one of the openers where they had Kit Fisto and Plo Koon like going at it with battle droids. It's like, oh, why didn't we get more of that? But anyway, Jaden, what do you think about this duel?
Yeah, so obviously, like he was saying, Kit Fisto and Plo Koon, very much two characters we know work together very often, but to pin them up against each other is a whole different thing. So we know we've seen the problem that I'm having with trying to get into how this fight would go down is we've only seen Kit Fisto duel anybody, and that was Grievous in the Lair of Grievous episode in Clone Wars. We've never seen Plo Koon duel with anybody. We've seen him fight battle droids. We've seen him fight even bounty hunters, but we've never seen a duel. It's a whole different thing. And obviously, it's not all determined on, oh, they beat this person, so that means that they're going to win. But we haven't seen how he fights anybody. I can't exactly remember his form. I know that Kit Fisto does use some... He what?
Plo Koon uses Sheehan.
Sheehan. And I think... doesn't Kit Fisto use?
He's a master.
I know he uses some Shicho.
He uses Shicho, and then he's capable
He's
with
the basic.
Form 4 as well, Turo.
Yeah.
Turo.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah. So even just with that information, with the fact that Plo Koon is essentially a master of Sheehan, and Kit Fisto is very much more of an aggressive fighter, especially choosing two forms like Shicho, and which it's not necessarily aggressive, it's just more powerful, and Atura, which is a more aggressive and quick form. I'm just gonna go ahead and state it. I think Kit Fisto wins this one. I think that he's a more calm and collective fighter. He's more optimistic, I will say. Plo Koon is very much more cautious. Whenever he approaches a situation, whenever he approaches anything, he's like, this can go any way. So he's prepared for anything, but he's not going after anything in a fight. He's not like, okay, well, this is the goal. He's almost like, to me, it seems like he's just like, however it ends, it ends. But Kit Fisto goes into a fight, okay, this is the situation I've got. All right, let's see what we can do with it. Lair of Grievous kind of proves that. He's like, all right, we're trapped in here. Let's see what we can do with that. Plo Koon's very much like, I think we should be more cautious. We just need to take it slow. And I think that in a fight that has a lot to do with it, because since Kit Fisto, in my opinion, is a much more aggressive fighter, or I guess just with his form, he's a much more aggressive fighter, with him thinking, okay, I can pull this out. But he's like, I've just got to put enough effort into it, especially with, him being as aggressive. I just think Kit wins this one. We don't know a whole lot on either of them more specifically. So this is based on what I know about them as characters and with what little I know about their abilities and skills with lightsabers and the Force, and also the combat philosophies. I think that Kit wins this one. What do you guys think?
Well, so that's the thing. Like, we could, again, we're this channel. We're trying to stick for these videos, trying to stick purely to canon. We could totally do a Legends bit later on and down the road. That could be interesting. But as of yet, we're sticking to straight canon because we want that consistency. And with Legends, again, there's a lot out there. But with canon specifically, it's just, everyone loves Plo Koon. He's my favorite Jedi. I want him to win this fight. But objectively speaking, the facts aren't out there to say Plo Koon wins the fight, which is sad, but at the same time, maybe Tales of the Jedi Season 2, we get Plo Koon. I would love that. I would be so there for it. And Dave Filoni loves Plo Koon too. I could definitely see it happen. But as of yet, Kit Fisto stands up to Grievous, Grievous is the Jedi killer. He's collecting lightsabers off of people he fights. And Grievous is just so outclassed by Kit Fisto. He's like, yo, my Magna Guards, come help me out, bros. And then they're like, okay, yeah. It's like Kit Fisto looks at it, he goes, okay, you're right, I'll surrender. I think Grievous has a line too. He says like, oh, I see you as a refined fighter. If you surrender, I'll make your death swift. I don't remember the exact terms he uses.
Oh, wait,
but he says he compliments him as a true fighter. then says, "If you surrender, I'll make your death quick." And then Kid Fisto's like, "Okay, I'll do it." Ike backflips onto his ship. Such a boss moment.
And there's something
But
there's
yeah,
something there's something to be said for Mace Windu choosing Kid Fisto to confront the Chancellor. And again, this is all stuff I haven't read in a long time, but there was even like some evidence that he held back certain Jedi from the front just in case something went down, just in case the Chancellor himself didn't, without knowing he was a Sith Lord, um, didn't relinquish his emergency powers. Like he held back strategically certain people so that he could confront and handle them, and these are people he held in very high regard. Not to say he wouldn't have chosen Plo Koon, but it is important that Mace Windu did choose Kit Fisto. So it's not a super concrete thing, but it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it also. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, just the Revenge of the Sith novelization is canon, and it expands upon all these things. And actually, it dives a lot more. And there's the deleted scenes of Palpatine's duel that was actually like longer, and it was a lot of interesting bits. But that's not canon. But in the novelization, it has that, right?
They don't exactly delve into it entirely, but it is longer than in the movie.
Right, and it makes Kid Fisto out to not just be cannon fodder for Palpatine's
He was basically
360-degree spin.
He was basically the only one that resisted Palpatine's force
streak or whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Him and Mace were the only ones that resisted it.
Yeah, because everything
but no,
you read. Go
ahead. No, mine's a tangent. You can continue with the force streak.
Well, like in everything you read, as far as like the literature goes, and not just the movie, it's like they go out of their way to say Kit Fisto was the only one. Only Mace Windu lasted longer than him, and the way they talk about it is like they fought Palpatine for longer than what you see in the movie. Like Kit Fisto lasted a few blows more than what we see him die in the actual movie.
Right.
There are like scenes that they've filmed for a longer fight scene between Kit Fisto, Mace Windu, and the Chancellor that we never got to see in the movie, but we did see what they would have possibly looked like. So it stands to reason that that's actually could have been what happened, and that they just didn't include it. But at the same time, it looks as though that's what we see in the film is what we see is what happened.
Yeah.
But so to not. This is like considering what you were saying earlier, Jane. This is like we don't see a lot from Plo, but personality and fighting style does matter, and we see that Kit Fisto is more aggressive. He's he's very laid back, but he's also
Plo Koon's better at Form Zero.
He's exactly, and Kit Fisto's very to go at it's part of his physicality as well, but also his style. He's wants to take things I wouldn't say he takes him head on and stuff, but he's not as patient as Plo Koon, and he's more of an aggressive fighter. And this isn't to say offensive is better than defensive fighters, because ultimately you need a balance of both. And the only reason I would say offensive fighters more are usually going to be defensive fighters is simply because it takes a little bit more skill as an offensive fighter to be better than a defensive fighter. If they like same amount of skill, offensive is gonna win because you can't just take blows.
Obi-Wan being the exception.
Well, you have to be exceptionally like this is true in any kind of fighting sport. Is you have to be offensive in order to win because you can't just take blows. Not only does taking blows, even if you are taking no damage, it does hurt your morale. You can't just take blows. You need and like you can't just be defensive and win, but you can be just as aggressive and win.
But that's the idea behind Xi'an, right? It's a defensive counter-attacking style. We just don't see it from Plo Koon. I wish we could see how effective he used Xi'an.
I'm not even talking about forms though.
Right.
I'm saying like just their personalities in general. I feel like even if let's just say they are on the same skill level, just say that if you just for argument's sake. Kit Fisto's still going to win simply because he's a little more aggressive, and that goes a long ways. Now, if you're a superior defensive fighter, like, say, Obi-Wan in general, or someone like... I'm trying to think of someone that's only... Semi...
Imagundi.
Emagundi, yes. You know, ultimately though, Plo Koon is not his sole focus. He's not exceptional at it per se, and I think that's gonna help Kid Fisto get the edge up on Plo Koon and eke this fight out. Simply because say they're pretty much on the same skill, like they're both on the council, but not for their fighting prowess, really. Now maybe Kid Fisto because he was only a temporary council member, and that was most likely because of his effectiveness as a general. I'm looking into it, but he was temporary council member during the Clone Wars, so it's like probably why he got there. Plo Koon was already on the council, not only on the council, a high council member, right?
Yeah, he's one of the only. So there was 3 full-time members and then 4 long-term members, and Plo Koon was one of the 2 long-term members.
Yeah.
Whereas the short-term members were only there for seasons,
or to replace dead or
yeah.
council members.
Obi-Wan was the same. Was temporary.
Yeah.
At least at first.
No, he was a long-term.
Really?
Obi-Wan,
Oh.
yeah. Well, he came in as a short-term, but then became a long-term.
Okay.
member.
Yeah, that's what I
And
thought.
Kid
Yeah,
Fisto
there
was
was somebody.
the only 3 full-time members were Yoda, Mason, Coyote,
Yes, but but what I'm saying
How
is
did he get spot?
I can get into that later. But
We will.
I think ultimately Plo Koon being a long-term member and Kid Fisto being a short-term member shows what their intentions were, and one being more fighter and one being more diplomat, more scholarly, and
A consular.
Yeah. So
like arguably some could say, I think Plo Koon didn't have as much of a focus on being a fighter. And again, same skill. Just say they have the same skill level, even though I think Kid Fisto has more skill. The fact that he's more aggressive, more offensive, is gonna give him the edge more.
which one
Keep
would
Plo
you
Koon on his.
which one would you take
Sorry,
in a
go ahead.
battle? If you were leading, if you had if it was Plo Koon with a legion of clone troopers and Kit Fisto with a legion of clone troopers, who would you take in a battle? Because that's something we do see. We see Plo Koon leading his fleet in the Malevolence arc. Well, and then the Wolf Pack with Commander Wolf, and then you have Kit Fisto. Yeah, it's a under the water type of battle, but still, like it shows the different types of leadership styles they have.
Is a better leader and a tactician, and we could do a whole video set on those.
I think we
themes
may
alone.
have to. I think we may have to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say, as a fighter in general, fighter on fighter, mano on mano, duelist, force duelist, whatever. But I think, sure, part of the reason Plo Koon is such a good leader is because, but although we see Plo Koon and Kid Fisto both are great leaders because they have great relationships with their clones.
Yeah.
Because they both are. One of the major problems of some Jedi Order members is their lack of empathy, despite that being something the Jedi shouldn't be
struggle with.
Yeah, but it's because they've been corrupted, so it's tangent. But what I'm saying is they're both very good in that department. But ultimately, yeah, I think Plo Koon's arguably the better general. He's led more troops. He had more responsibility because of his more skilled. But mano a mano, I feel like Kid Fisto has a bit more of an edge.
He's also just a stud.
He's a stud. Oh my gosh, this man.
Love it.
Just the reason I'm 97% straight.
There's no reason why he had to take his shirt off in the arc, but he did because
No.
he's a stud.
He wanted to
stud.
show off. That's the one time where it's appropriate for
I mean,
him to show off.
maybe he needed access to his
You're in
gills.
water.
I don't know. I don't know how that works, but either way, it happened and it was awesome.
I think that
Yes.
alone should make him win the fight.
That alone by itself.
Like that alone makes him win the fight. This all is just
Confirmed. Kid Fisto is better because he can breathe in the air and underwater, and Plo Koon can't even breathe normal air, let alone the water.
well, also
So
because he's
that's
shredded.
why. That's why. He's also, we don't know if Plo Koon's shredded or not. We just haven't seen it.
Yeah, we don't.
I would love to do a versus series, but with who can Kid Fisto beat that he normally can't beat when underwater?
That is not a bad offshoot. That is a
Ooh,
great
I'm
idea. You
joking.
heard it here first. 35,000 episods of Kid Fisto dueling
Yeah,
people.
We're doing
underwater.
every single person that he usually wouldn't meet on land. It's like who would win a lion or a shark. Depends
Now-
on the location.
It is interesting that both of these people have fought battles in a weightless type of situation.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Like both of them, like Plo Koon had his stuff in space where he could breathe out in outer space, and then Kid Fisto had his battle where he could only breathe underwater, and that he gave him the edge whenever he was fighting. Like it's kind of cool, you know.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the Clone Wars. They do a really good job of having different environments and making each battle very unique in that regard. Like Battle of Fallujah is just wonderful because it's such a beautiful terrain.
We need to
It's a really big side tangent, but
we gotta do the start of the series is the confronting Palpatine, but underwater. And now Palpatine maybe kills everyone except for Kit Fisto this time, and then he crushes him, burns his.
Every series we do, we're just gonna also do one underwater.
Yeah,
We're gonna have
yeah.
massive clone
Yes.
battles, but we do it up on the shore and then down underwater.
And see how the tide changes.
And Kid Fisto's just always there. Even if he's not the
Yes.
subject, he's just always there with his shirt off.
that's good, Jaden.
But yeah, I
Alright.
think we conclude.
Yeah,
Fisto
Yeah.
most likely.
Yeah, Kid
Oh,
Fisto.
yeah.
I wouldn't be upset if someone believes Plo Koon would win. I just feel like
I want
I would
someone
want
to
a deeper
convince-
explanation. I would want more explanation as to why, but not just like, well, he's better. No, I want you to tell me why.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen Kid Fisto, we've seen how he operates, we also know about them, but we don't know as much about Plo Koon, so it's unfortunate. But we're like, at this point, we have to say Kid Fisto.
Yeah. Oh,
We
I
can all
would
Until
agree,
we,
though.
if we, unless we find out more, we have to. I mean,
What did you say, Jordan?
I say we can all agree though. Just more Tales of the Jedi is gonna be helpful for this and just in general for these characters.
Every
Just
single
more
almost
season.
every single one of these, we have brought up Tales of the Jedi, and we're like, well, what if they bring in more Plo Koon? What if we see more of Qui-Gon? You know, like what if we
we need to see
went
it.
so bad.
We're
But anyways,
just-
that's
yeah.
we should probably.
Yeah, that's good enough. We have nailed it down. If you disagree, you are wrong, because it's not like this is close or anything. We just
100%.
we need
our
more
call.
information about Plo Koon because I like Plo Koon a lot.
Me too. We're all
But-
there, yeah.
Yeah, we're all on the same page. So, please like and subscribe. Check out the website. Check out our other videos. Until the next one, we'll see you guys next time.